All right, so here we have a parallelogram because you tell us it's a parallelogram. And so all the properties of a parallelogram are up here. And so we start with the things that we know, the easiest things that we know, right? So it has opposite sides that are congruent. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this information and put it or put it on my diagram, put it on my parallelogram. So here they're telling me that xy is 15, so go ahead and label that. And just from the properties, I know that those two sides are congruent. So this side is also 15. We can check that off. They're telling me wx is 22. And by similar way, this bottom part now here, we have an x. So this bottom part is also supposed to equal to 22, right? And so that's where I'm going to get my equation to solve for x in a bit. The next thing they're telling me is that WT is 10, okay? Remember, the diagonals of a parallelogram are going to bisect each other. So that's telling me that these two parts are going to be congruent to each other. So if WT is 10, then TY is also 10. The other thing is they're telling you that angle WZY. So W Z and Y. So this angle down here, this entire thing is going to be 62, which is telling me that this angle, the opposite angle, is going to be congruent to that. So that's also 62, right? So opposite angles of a parallelogram are going to be congruent. So that's why those are 62. And we also have angle WXT. So WXT. So this little angle. So I'm going to move this. Let's do this. So both of these together is 62. WXT. So this angle in here, we'll color code this. So this angle in here is going to be 27. And so that tells us that, so because this entire angle is 62 and that little one is 27, then the difference between them is what's going to be here, which in this case, so we do 62 minus 27, which gives us 35 degrees there. Okay, check that off. And then they're telling us that angles ZWT. So ZWT. So this angle here is 77 degrees. Okay. And we'll talk about what else we can find. So the next thing we're going to start with is let's go ahead and find x, right? So here's my equation. So 3x minus 5 equals 22. And so if I want to solve for x, I simply add 5 to both sides. So we got 3x equals 27. Divide by 3, we get x to be 9. The second thing, or how we solve for y, is knowing the fact that that diagonal is being bisected, which is telling me that these two parts of the diagonal are going to be congruent. So if they're congruent, then we set up my equation. 4y minus 8 equals 2y plus 4. And we're going to solve for y. So we're going to subtract 2y from both sides, so we get 2y. And then we're going to add 8, which is 12. And then we divide by 2, and we get y to be 6. And so now once we know y is 6, we can substitute in for either one, and we get the actual length of that part of the diagonal. So here we have 2 times 6 plus 4, and that's going to give me the measurement of xt. And so 2 times 6 is 12 plus 4. That gives me xt to be 16, which in return is telling me that xz is 32. So let's go back to finding this angle here. So if you notice, so 62 is the angle measurement of here, and then we got 77 there. And so we can actually find this third angle measurement here because we have a triangle here. So if we highlight this triangle there, then we can now see that we have a triangle, right? And so just like every triangle, all the interior angles of a triangle need to add up to 180 degrees, right? So if we already know that that is 62 and this angle is 77, then when we put them together and subtract from 180, we get this angle measurement to be 41 degrees. All right, so now let's take a look at another problem. So once again, here we have a parallelogram, so all the properties of a parallelogram still apply. And so we're going to take the stuff that they give me and put it on my parallelogram. So they're telling me TV is 74. So from here to there, that whole thing is 74. So because it's a parallelogram, I know that these are being bisected, or these two parts are the same, right? So I take 74 and divide that by 2, and that's telling me that each section or each part is 37 and 37. The other information they're telling me is that WV is equal to 4x plus 1. Okay, so that's important because they're gonna want us to solve for x, right? So they're telling me that this part here is equal to 4x plus 1, but we already established that it's supposed to equal 37, so that's where my equation is going to come from. So 4x plus 1 is equal to 37, and we're going to solve for x in a bit. Well, actually, let's just go ahead and do it now. So we have 4x equals 36 because we subtracted 1, and then we're going to divide by 4, and we get x to be 9. All right, so let's keep going. So then the next thing we have is they're telling me that angle UTS. So UTS. So this angle here is 8y minus 12, and angle TSV, and this angle here is equal to 3y plus 5. And so we're going to use the fact that these angles are consecutive angles, which means that they're supplementary. And so that means that this angle there, this entire angle, plus this entire angle here, when we add them together, they should add up to 180 degrees. And so that's how I'm going to start with my equation. So we have 8y minus 12 plus 3y plus 5 equals 180. And so we're going to start by combining like terms. So we have 3y plus 8y plus 3y, which gives us 11y. And then we have a negative 12 and a positive 5, which gives us negative 7. And then that equals to 180. And so then we have 11y equals 187. And so 187 divided by 11 gives us y to be 17. And so now if I wanted to find the measurement of either angle, or actually both angles, so we simply plug in or substitute 17 in for both of these y's. And so we have 8 times 17, which is 136, minus 12 gives us an angle measurement. So we can say the measurement of angle UTS is equal to 124 degrees. And then if I substitute in to y there, we get that angle TSV is equal to 56 degrees.